Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named She Knows She's Magic in the AITAH subreddit. The post is titled, "My best friend is dating my abuser and wants me to reconcile with him, so I kicked her out of my home. I have tried to write this out for days now, but I keep getting too upset to concentrate, so this might be a bit jumpy. I don't have family in the sense many understand family to be, so I've been pretty much a loner with one exception, my best friend Tammy. We met in middle school and just became joined at the hip. Things changed a bit in college. My parents forced me into a Christian out-of-state college. Tammy applied and got accepted to the other college in the town, so we both went out there and were roommates for 2 of the years before I met my first ever boyfriend. I will call him Trent. I moved in with him at the end of junior year, and I don't know when it started happening, but he went from charming and affectionate to controlling. I don't wish to upset anyone, so I will hit the pause button and warn you that below are some of the things he did for me to label him abusive. He would put me down and hint that he could find someone better, or that if he cheats, it will be my fault since I wasn't this or that enough. It started to get physical senior year. At first, it was him pushing me out of the way if he was walking by and I was in his path. Then he would slap me in arguments, calling me worthless, a waste of his time and young years, a broken toy no one will love. I didn't have any real self-esteem, so I stayed thinking I was the problem. When I called home about it, I was told that the problem was me. I started to make my exit plan the day after I graduated. He had proposed and I hesitated, and he screamed at me to ask why. Then he swung and punched the wall right next to my head. I fell to the floor in fear, and he tried to comfort me and basically forced me into sex. When I woke up the next morning, the ring was on my finger, and he forced me again and later called it makeup sex, saying he forgave me for the way I treated him. That is the extremely short explanation, but there are so many stories of him forcing me into bed, hitting me, or threatening to kill me, and more. So I started to make a plan. I found a shelter in the nearby city. I started hiding things in the trunk of my car. I was in the service industry then, so I would take more shifts whenever I could and hide my cash tips in a box of tampons in my purse. And I finally was ready and left him, left my phone, and never went back. Tammy knew him and lived near us, but she didn't know about my plan. She messaged me on social media and I told her what happened, all of what happened. So she played dumb when he came around asking where I was, spinning the story that I was and he was calling the police to find me. He never found me. That was years ago. I am now 36 and Tammy is too. Trent is 38. Tammy became a bit religious, but I told her as long as she is happy and safe, I don't care what she leans on in faith. She started to invite me out to her church 4 years ago, and I kept saying no until I very firmly said if she brought it up again, I would just walk out or hang up. I'm not against anyone believing what they want. I just don't want or need to be sucked into it. I honestly do not mean any offense to anyone of any faith. I myself am just agnostic, and if that ever will change, I will decide on my own, but I doubt it will. She got a job 2 years ago overseas. I acted excited for her, and I was, but I was also deeply devastated. By this time, I wasn't in contact much with family, and I do have surface level friends, but no one who's known me in the real sense. I worked it out with my counselor and just carried on. We stayed in touch online and video chatted a lot. She would show me London and I would show her my transition to moving to Texas. We would chronicle our explorations of our new cities, and then one day it started to slow down on her end right around the time she went to visit a friend in our old college town. She then asked if she flew to Texas sometime this summer, could she stay with me for a few days, and I excitedly agreed. So early this month, just a few weeks ago, she came here. She was off the whole first day, but I figured she was tired. Then the next day, we went out and got drunk. She started to cry, and I got us an Uber back to my place and asked her what was wrong. That's when she asked me not to hate her and told me everything. She's with Trent. She's been with him almost a year. I was too stunned to even say anything, and she went on and on about how it's not what I think and he has changed. She told me he found Jesus and turned his life around and deeply regrets the way he treated me. The more she talked, the more I just shut off. I didn't even have it in me to feel anger. I just stared at her frozen as she talked until she said, "Please just say something." So I did. I told her to get the F out. She started to explain it all again. She hated him forever, but they kept running into each other. He goes to church and showed he has changed, blah blah blah. I didn't interrupt her, but when she stopped talking again, I just repeated myself. She argued more, and I would just listen and repeat until she grabbed her stuff and left. It was silent between us for a week until my dad texted me that Tammy called my parents crying and told me to get over myself. After all, it's not like I wanted to get back with him, right? And that's what I get for living with a man I wasn't married to. Then she texted the next week rehashing her argument and pretty much demanding I video chat with him to see for myself that he's changed and forgive him. She then blamed me that they can't take the next steps in their relationship because I don't have a forgiving heart and that I was malicious when I kicked her out. I've spent all of this week trying to figure out if I am insane to think this is a huge betrayal, a deal breaker. I mean, who even dates their friend's ex for one, but this? I blocked her after she hinted that my version of things was exaggerated and malicious, but I don't have other friends to turn to about this. I don't think I am, but Mai and her family thinks I am the jerk, at least for kicking her out in a strange city alone when she was just being honest with me. User 410 Writer said, "Your so-called best friend is playing you for a fool, and you've got to call it like it is. A hot mess wrapped in betrayal. Dating your abuser? Girl, that's not just crossing a line, it's leaping over it with no look back. Kicking her out wasn't just right, it was necessary. You don't need that kind of disrespect and trauma reopening nonsense in your life." And her trying to preach about forgiveness, that's her trying to wash her own guilt away, not about helping you heal. Listen here, don't you dare feel bad for putting yourself first. You aren't a rehabilitation center for poorly raised folks pretending to be friends. Cut her off, cut that noise off, and don't you look back. You're not the crazy one here. She and anyone who's siding with her are. You keep that head high and that door shut to toxic messes like that. User Jess18 said, basically she knows he's a rapist and she expects you to forgive him. If he's not prepared to turn himself into the police and admit I raped my ex at least twice, I used to hit her and threaten to kill her, he isn't remorseful. He doesn't want to take accountability. Cut off Tammy. I am going to sound like a heartless but she knows he's abusive. She knows he's a rapist. She knows what kind of man he is. Unfortunately, she will likely find out she was wrong and he hasn't changed, because he will start abusing her. Under this, OP said, "Sorry, I flinched at the R word and it took me a sec to reply." Tammy said even then it wasn't great because we were a couple. She said that I might have colored my opinion of what happened based on his misbehavior at the time and labeled it a dangerous term. It took me over 7 years before I could call it that. It still makes me uncomfortable, but I was able to say it 3 times in that session. Never out loud again, but I was able to say it. This next post was made in the Off My Chest subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, "Slept with my sister-in-law." My sister-in-law moved in with us about 8 months ago. She was having money problems and we live near her school. My wife and I are off and on the rocks every few months. No kids, by the way. Lately, my sister-in-law has been taking my side. There has been no contact or anything really out of the norm between us before. The worst thing that has happened is I walked in on her in the bathroom. She laughed it off and it truly was an accident. I did not realize anyone was in there, but I would be lying if I said I haven't masturbated to the thought of sleeping with her. She is 19 and has a beautiful body. My wife went on a work conference trip for the week, and last night my sister-in-law and I were drinking quite a bit and ended up having sex. This morning I woke up freaking out, and after a long discussion I realized this girl has a good head on her shoulders and told me not to worry because she doesn't do relationships and won't bring up what happened last night. I think I believe her. TLDR piped my 20-year-old sister-in-law and I am pretty sure I'll get away with it. User Captain Mikey said, "Well look, here is the way this sort of needs to play out. No insults, no demeaning talk, just honor. You obviously do not love your wife the way a husband should, so you need to respectfully end it with her. It's hard, but if you don't take the high road now, this will all end in a spectacular implosion down the road and you're going to hurt her a lot. You may have already killed her relationship with her sister. Her sister is just as much at fault. Just be a man, end it, and go your separate ways. You will both be better off because of it. Do not live the life of a coward." User 333 Throw said, "You are a turd. Her sister doesn't have a good head on her shoulders. I wouldn't be surprised if you keep this up. It doesn't even seem like you care about your wife. Just the consequences." This post was made in the AITAH subreddit by a user named NoKiwi. The post is titled AITAH for announcing our pregnancy at my brother's wedding after he proposed at mine. My brother said he was going to propose at my wedding. I told him no, explaining that it was a day for my wife and me and we did not want any distractions. My mom lost her temper. She insisted that he wanted family he might not see again for a while to be part of the proposal. I told her I didn't care and that if he went through with it, I would have him kicked out. He did it anyway. My mom warned me that if I tried to kick him out, she would leave too. I just remember seething inside. My brother got married last weekend. Instead of giving a welcome to the family toast, I used the time to announce that we were expecting our first baby. My mom was upset, but my grandmother told her to sit down and be quiet. We spent most of the reception talking to family we wouldn't see again for a while about our coming baby. My mom says I was an asshole for taking attention away from my brother on his wedding day. She got really mad when I reminded her that she had threatened to leave my wedding if I kicked him out after he proposed. I have a screenshot of the text messages. Update: we are pregnant for real. We were pregnant at the wedding, but we didn't know. Thanks again for validating my immature and vengeful nature. I guess I have to grow up now. Sorry for the short post, but I'm so excited that I almost didn't post at all. This final story was made in the same subreddit by a user named OKInevitable. The post is titled AITAH for being truthful and admitting that I find my wife unattractive after her surgery. My wife had plastic surgery recently. We had discussed it and I was against it. It was not my decision and ultimately I had no say. She looks weird now. She had the fat sucked out of her face, lip fillers, a neck lift, and other procedures I don't really understand. She gives me uncanny valley vibes now. It freaks me out. She is fully healed now and wants us to go back to normal, like me initiating sex. I have done so, but not as much as I used to, and when I do, I try to make sure there is very little light. It's been a few months and I kind of dread having to look at her. Obviously, she has noticed. She has been bugging me to tell her what's up. I've tried telling her I'm just tired from work or that I'm run down, really anything except the truth. She broke down and asked me if I was having an affair. I said that I wasn't. She asked to look at my phone. I unlocked it for her and handed it over. I wasn't worried about her finding anything because there is nothing to find. She spent an hour looking through it and found nothing. She asked me to explain why I changed. I tried explaining that I just wasn't that interested right now. Nothing I said was good enough for her. She kept digging. I finally told the truth. I wasn't harsh or brutally honest. I just told her that her new face wasn't something I found attractive and that I was turned off. She asked if that's why I turn off all the lights now. I said yes. She started crying and said that she needed time alone. She went to stay with her sister. I have been called every name in the book since this happened. Her sister said I'm a piece of shit for insulting my wife's looks. Her friends all think I'm the asshole. I tried not to say anything. I can't force myself to find her attractive. I still love her, but her face is just weird now. She looks like the blue alien from The Fifth Element. Update: she told me that the reason she had the surgery was because her mom and sister talked her into it. They convinced her that she was starting to look old and that I would find someone else to be with if she did not do something. That was why her mom gave her the money for the operations. Her mom and sister look like Bruce Campbell in Escape from LA. They are the very last people on the planet who should be telling anyone to get plastic surgery. I used some of the comments I read on my post as talking points. I told her that I loved her and that she was the person I wanted to spend my life with. I told her that the surgery would take a while longer to settle down and that as I got more used to her new face, I would learn to appreciate it. She asked me if I wanted her to see if she could get it reversed. I almost screamed at her. The last thing in the world I want is for her to mess up her face more than it already is. I asked her if she could please just leave it and let me get used to it. We talked for about 3 hours and decided that her mom and sister would not be a part of any decisions in our life going forward. She is going to leave her face alone and give me a chance to get used to it. We are going to look for a marriage counselor and maybe individual counselors for each of us. I am going to make an effort to show her every day how I still find her desirable, and she is going to make an effort to believe me when I tell her I love her the way she is. We are going to talk to her mom and sister and tell them that we are taking a break from them. We are going to block them and get our act together before we allow them back into our lives. Thank you to everyone who tried to help me. I would like to add that I did not think there were that many guys out there with a weird blue squid lady fetish. It isn't for me, but you do you.